ready to rock for episode number 7 of Bucks, Ball, and Beyond. Hello, everybody. Nathan Buckley, joined by Brant Buckley. We're happy to entertain you for the next hour or so. And Brant, let me be definitely the first today to wish you a happy Milkshake Monday.
Yeah, in a roundabout way, I guess you're the first one to wish me a happy Milkshake Monday, Nate. That's a throwback, that's for sure. Happy Milkshake Monday to you as well, and all the other Milkshake Mondayers out there.
I think he still does those videos. I can't remember his handle. It's some Canadian older
White Elephant, wasn't it? Something along the lines of that.
something like that, but I think he still makes the videos because I feel like last week he made one. You have like Milkshake Monday, Float Day Friday. They're not, I don't want to call them entertaining, but somehow we both watch them probably because it's food related. So of course we
You,
watch them, you know?
you can't forget the midweek mocktail.
Yes, midweek mocktail as well. Can't forget about that. Uh like I said, are they rather entertaining? No, not really, but it's food related, so I guess it draws our attention in. So,
I
Brant,
think they're rather entertaining.
speaking of entertaining and I guess kind of food related in a sense, went to the Lugnuts game there on Saturday. Interesting giveaway. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and just to confirm, it is the White Elephant, white being spelled with a Y, Canadian guy, mind you. Older fella. If you've never looked him up, look him up. He's actually kind of fun to watch. Um, Getting into Saturday, so we go to the Lugnuts, and it's Christmas in July, and the Lugnuts are giving away literal Nutcracker figurines. If you've ever seen a Nutcracker figurine, it's kind of creepy, if you ask me. It's got like a little mustache on it. It's got a square mouth, little blushing going on. Well, they kind of hit the nail on the head with their figurine because it's little Luggy. Um, I guess little Luggy is what you would consider it. It's a literal Lugnuts Nutcracker. It's kind of creepy looking, if you ask me, but you know what? It's kind of cool if you understand what a Nutcracker is supposed to look like. But needless to say, they were not out by the time we were there, so I guess people really weren't all that interested in it. But I don't know. We ended up with a few in our possession, so I've got one sitting on my desk now. Um, as for the game, it was a great game. Lugnuts ended up winning the game. We had some adult beverages consumed. A few of them were rather on the cheap side for Nate. Nate won our home run hitter bet again. For those of you, if we maybe we didn't explain it the first time, it got brought up. So we do this thing where everybody they don't pick a player, they pick a number in the lineup. And so, like for example, Nate took the leadoff guy, so he had Jared Sprayblatt. I had the second guy, the guy second in the batting order. Instead of picking a player, instead of saying, "Oh, I want Nate Nankill, I want Rodney Green, I want Jared Sprayglatt," we just pick a number in the lineup, and whoever ends up batting in that spot is who we have for the home run hitter. And if your guy hits a home run, everyone owes you a beer. So Nate has now won this twice this year, both the Father's Day game we went to and this Christmas in July game. Mitch won one as well with the Father's Day game, but nobody else has won one yet. Granted, we've maybe only been to like 3 or 4 Lugnuts games this year, but it's a fun little contest, gets you into it. We had 8 guys this past week, so we had all but one guy in the lineup, and sure enough, Nate's guy happened to hit. Funny enough, I was down with Nolan at the time. We had both Nolan, Mr. Southpaw Swings, shout out Southpaw, and W's, shout out Chubb. They both did on field games. Nolan's came first. It was the cornhole game, and I was down in the well with him, getting him situated and stuff. I guess you could say, I don't know. I was just hanging out with him. And all of a sudden, he hits a home run, and I look at Nate's doing circles up in the stands, and by that I mean he's just spinning around himself. He's not actually running around. Those who know Nate knows that he's not running around. We get back up there, and I don't know if anyone bought him a beer yet, but pretty much I'm turning right back around and coming back down with Dubbies for the oversized beer pong, and both guys ended up winning. So shout out to them. Lugnuts ended up winning. It was a great night, but an even better night for Nate. Nate, you are on fire lately with some of your things, some of those contests, bets. I mean, you're just on a historic run.
Yeah, I guess if you start back at Father's Day, I won the home run challenge there. Uh, I think since now and then, I think I'm on a streak of like 3 or 4 straight trips to the bar where I've won on Cash Pop. The same night that we were out at Tipsy Cow, I won a Cash Pop. And then later that night, ended up pulling $50 on a pull tab. So that was interesting. Won again on Cash Pop on Saturday at Beat Ups. We'll get into that here in a little bit soon. I ended up winning Garrett O'Brien's British Open golf contest. So, yeah, I think I've been doing pretty well. And I mentioned beat ups a minute ago. I guess this is kind of where we'll redirect there. Kind of two interesting new items there, which I don't think it's going to be around very long, either one of them, considering that one is a FIFA World Cup inspired thing. But I'll start with that one and I'll let you get into the other one, Brant. They are serving 100-ounce Michelob Ultras in kind of a World Cup shaped. I don't even know what you would call it. It's got a tap on it. It's like a giant glass. It's got a tube with some ice in it to keep it cold. It's got like a little spout on it so you can just pour it into a glass. Like, I know Moondog wants one of them when they're done with them, and I'm sure he'll get one, how close he is to the manager there. But it's, we put a few of those down. Just keep in mind, we got one for the table. So we drink through it, then we get another one for the table. So we weren't all drinking 100 ounces of Busch Light, or excuse me, of Michelob Ultra. But yeah, that was kind of interesting that Beat Ups, I think, is going to extend it for a little bit longer past the World Cup. But if you get out to Beat Ups, I don't know, ask them about the 100-ounce Michelob Ultras.
I feel like she said like second week of August or something is when they were going to run through, like maybe like August 10th or something. But I feel like it was either you or Nolan mentioned it looked more like the college
Yeah.
football
Yeah,
playoff trophy than it did the World Cup trophy.
it
Like
did.
they could have put a soccer ball on top or whatever um, to make it look more like the World Cup trophy, but it literally looked like it was like they could pull these back out for the college football playoff, put new stickers on them, and I feel like it would look a lot closer to the actual trophy used for the college football playoff than it would the World Cup.
And the funny thing is, the college football championship trophy comes out on like a little stand. Like there's a little maybe 3 or 4 inch stand that it comes out on that it lifts up out of. And it literally, this same thing had the little stand. It came up off its stand. I'm like, this
Yeah,
literally reminds me when I picked it up, it literally reminded me of like Harbaugh when he picked up the national championship trophy, is what it reminded me of. So,
well, the World Cup trophy does the same thing too. It sits on its
yeah,
stand, so I think that was kind of the point that they were getting at with it too. But
right.
it didn't really match the shape real well.
Yeah, it's kind of round on the top. The World Cup trophy is, so they almost needed to make it round at the top. But either way, I mean, 100 ounces of Michelob Ultra, I don't care what it looks like, frankly.
For real, for real. Um, Getting into the other thing, they had this new thing. It's called Poppin' Ranch, and it was one of those things like, okay, I guess I'll give it a try. Sprinkled it on some wings. It looks like mozzarella cheese is what it looks like, or Parmesan cheese rather.
Mhm.
Um, it's like a mix between like I want to call it like a ranch flavored Pop Rocks, but that's really kind of what it was. It
That,
had a light Pop Rocks texture to it, which is what they were going for.
that's actually like legitimately what it was, to be honest with you.
Right. It to me, it went well on the wings. You know what I thought they went fantastic on though, is I sprinkled the rest of my packet on Southpaw's fries. He just had regular fries. They actually were fantastic on them fries. That to me, though, that went better on the fries than they did the wings because the wings you're already kind of dipping in the ranch, like you gotta have that sauce on them. But the fries, you dip them in a little bit of the ranch too. That's the way that I would do it if I was gonna get those again, get the popping ranch again. I would do them on some fries or maybe try them on some, I don't know, some mozzarella sticks or something.
Mix it into a
Uh,
mac and cheese bowl, maybe.
yeah, I bet that would be really good. There's a lot of different endless options that you can do with it, but
I kind of I like to drown my wings in ranch, so I felt like they gave you a good amount. I got a good amount the packet that I got. It's just the thing is, it's like I needed more because I always like to drown my wings in ranch. So yeah, something that's not bad either. I got to give a shout out here to Jared Schneider because a few weeks ago we were at that pool party. He kind of turned my head to something, I guess might be a good he shed a light on something. Let's put it that way. When we went to go, he cooked up all them brats and burgers and fantastic, by the way. Uh, kissed the chef or, you know, however that goes. He pulls chips out of the freezer. I'll tell you what, I really like those Doritos sweet chili flavor chips. Them in the freezer went hard. Like they were fire. They were awesome. Um, and so shout out to Jarrett for kind of shedding a light on that. And of course, we bring it up to Ty or we're at that bonfire, had a bonfire at Brendan's over on Friday night, and Ty was there and Jarrett was there. And Ty's like, "Oh, you guys never had chips in the freezer before? It must be a Schneider thing."
if there's a food hack, Ty Schneider has definitely tried it already, and he'll be able to tell you if it's good or not.
So Brant, it kind of killed me last week, kind of shifting into a new topic here. It kind of killed me last week that we had a guest on and we didn't talk any NASCAR because, of course, it's the one time in like well over a year, 45 races to be exact, that the 22 goes to victory lane. So, um, it's crazy. We'll kind of talk about NASCAR here a little bit because it's kind of been a crazy 2 weeks, but Logano, my boy there, I know Chubb's a big Logano fan too, so shout out to him. He led 8 laps all season going into North Wilkesboro and led 323 of the 450 laps at North Wilkesboro. So kind of night and day difference. He follows it up with a third place finish at Indianapolis, and now suddenly he was 17th in the points. Now he's all the way up to 13th, and the top 16 drivers make the playoffs for anybody who doesn't follow NASCAR very closely. What's caught your eye over the last 2 weeks when it's come to racing, Brant?
Well, not Joey Logano, that's for sure.
Yeah, well,
No, I don't.
you can't ignore him. He's running up front.
In all realness, he actually has been running well lately, to the much to the delight of you and W's and all the other Joey Logano losers out there. I'm sure Grant Terrell will appreciate me saying that. Um, no, good for Logano, good for the fans. I know that that's one of the races that you had circles as a chance for him to win, along with Atlanta, which is why you stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning to watch the end of that Atlanta race and stayed up because North Wilkesboro was another 6 o'clock start, 7 o'clock start. So you stayed up late to watch it. Glad you got rewarded for it. How about Heim time this past week? Another win for the 6-7 car. That's big in the big at Indianapolis, a historic track like Indianapolis. I will say, disappointing crowd. That I mean, I know that NASCAR overall in general just isn't as popular as it used to be. But and when they first went to Indianapolis, the sport was very much on the rise, and with it going to Indianapolis, a historic place like Indianapolis, of course it was going to be a sellout. But man, you take a look at the crowds like this week compared to what they were back in '94 or even back in the early 2000s. Yeah, that was nowhere close. So it was just kind of disappointing to see there. But few
But
people from our race weekend group went. Brett and Emma. They said it was a great time. Um,
at the
of
same
course, it's
time,
time. So
at the same time, they've ripped out a lot of grandstands from places like Michigan. They can't do that at Indianapolis. They can't do that up there because they still sell out for the Indy 500. And despite being one of the best historic tracks in all of racing, it's you and I know this firsthand because we went to the Indy 500 back in 2022. It's not a very viewer friendly track. You can't see the whole track. the pagoda and the stands and the pits are in the way. You almost got to sit in one of the corners if you want to see the full track, but they close off most of the corner. So that kind of leaves you at the front stretch, and people know that's not a very good view. So they're just like, and we're just going to watch it from home, you know?
Well, that and Indianapolis, and this is what people said at first too from the very start. Indianapolis isn't much of a stock car track. I mean, it. You watch the Indy cars fly around there, and they're just dipping into the corner, and they're flying. They're just flying around that place. That place is built for Indy cars. And then you see the stock cars, and they're just kind of. It kind of looks like they're just putzing around, which is why it surprised me when you see a guy like Kyle Larson, the way that he wrecked this past weekend. You see him spin out in the corner, and he whips it up in the wall, and it's like, wow, that wasn't nearly as hard of a hit as I originally thought it was. Because you see an IndyCar do that, and you're like, holy cow, like somebody might have just died. Like they go into the corner at like 210 mile an hour, and if when they spin out, they are immediately in the wall. And then you see a stock car do that has to get much slower to turn, and it's like, wow, okay, that was kind of underwhelming to be completely honest. Glad it's underwhelming, but um, yeah. Other than that, I mean, good couple of races, but
Gotta say too, everybody's talking about the upset of Corey Heim, the part-time driver in the 6-7 car. Nobody's talking about the major upset that's happened the last few weeks, and that is in the in-season challenge. Now, for those who don't know, NASCAR kind of has an in-season challenge like what the NBA does, where they seed the drivers 1 through 32, and then driver number one, the one seed play or goes up against the 32, the two against the 31, um, and whoever finishes better, the best moves on. The 25 seed of Todd Gilliland, the Todd father, is now the Gillionaire because Todd Gilliland brings home the upset and takes home the NASCAR in-season challenge. How about that? That is something, is it not?
yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be an uphill battle for him for sure, which it has been this whole time. But
But right.
when he's facing off with a guy like Ryan Blaney for the championship, who has been red hot lately, Blaney spun out and still ended up only what 2 or 3 spots back from Todd Gilliland. Like it was actually a really close finish in the end.
24th, yeah.
But yeah, good for the Todd father. I mean, if you're a NASCAR fan, you love the Todd father. Nobody hates Todd Gilliland, and um, like you said, he's the Gillionaire now.
You mentioned that he had an uphill battle there. He had to take out Blaney in the final round, Elliott, Bowman, Hocevar along the way. Even the first race of the in-season challenge, he had to take on Suarez at Sonoma. So Daniel Suarez is a road course racer. That's kind of where he dominates. He had to go up against I wouldn't say a powerhouse, but a very strong road course racer right away at Sonoma. So credit to him. He could have been wiped out first round very easily.
Hey, let's get into a little bit of baseball. I know you got it on behind you a little bit there. As we stand right now, Tigers are in the middle of the sixth, down 8-5.
Yikes.
Man, if we were talking last week, God, they were kind of red hot, weren't they? They were playing really well, and then kind of struggled in the weekend series against the Royals. And I guess we'll kind of start with that. What do you take away from the weekend series with the Royals?
It started off very good. It started off exactly how we needed it to go. Started off close, um, within a few round runs each way, which is I think how the whole weekend went, and usually how it goes when the Royals and Tigers play at Comerica. It was kind of disappointing though because Saturday and Sunday were both two games that the Tigers maybe should have had. They maybe should have won those two games. They were leading late. The bullpen, which is just a dumpster fire right now, comes in and blows it. And I don't know as if we really need to sweep the Royals, but I think taking at least 3 or 4 games would have been very, very beneficial for the Tigers going forward as they're trying to reel themselves back into the wild card hunt.
Yeah, I know when we were sitting at B Dubs on Saturday, a few of us were rather um, ticked off with the result of the game, mostly the fact that they had another late lead and they blew it. And you were kind of being the voice of reason to say, okay, you know what? Long season, 162 games. You're going to win some. You're not supposed to win. You're going to lose some that you're supposed to win. Um, I just think that's two of those games now. When they're, Lord forbidding, 3 games back with 5 games to play of a wild card spot, that's going to be one you're looking back on going, man, they probably should have taken at least one of those. And
Yep.
to your defense, you did say that. Ask me tomorrow how I feel
Yeah.
about tonight's game because it's more of the thing of winning the series over winning each game. You don't need to necessarily have a sweep, but um, yeah,
Well,
that's a tough series.
well, here's the thing is starting with the Kansas City Royals series there, their next 16 games is against sub 500 teams. So it's like, okay, you need to win a good amount of them. You don't need to win them all. You're not going to win them all unless you're the Boston Red Sox. So it's just kind of like, okay, if you lose, that's what we were talking about last year that the Tigers were doing so well during the first half of the season. Is if they lose a game, they bounced right back the next night. That's what you got to do. You're going to lose some that you were supposed to win or that you had late, that the bullpen gave it up. Losing yesterday, though, losing on Sunday was like, dang it, we really kind of needed 3 out of 4 there just to keep chipping away. And you're right to the fact of those were both games that Detroit should have won because, well, not necessarily that they should have won because they led late, but like I'm pretty sure one of those 2 games, the home run or the Royals took the lead with 2 outs in the 8th. And it's like, you just get that final out there and you're out of it.
I think both of them. I think both of them were at least seventh or eighth inning. Uh, I know Saturday was the eighth inning. I think Sunday might have also been the eighth inning that they gave up the game winning runs essentially. And it's just that's the frustrating part is that man, if they're gonna trade a guy like Scooble or if they're gonna dish away some guys, they need to get some relief pitching. They just need a couple of arms on the back end to come in and close down these games because right now, like Drew Summers, Drew Anderson, uh, Wolf Wolfpack, he ain't. These guys aren't doing garbage.
There's a streaker on the field right now.
Oh,
Little
that's
squirrel. Little squirrel running around out there, out in
hmm,
center field. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he's got an arm on him. Ask him if he can come in and close out a game.
no kidding. I actually joked that with Lauren, Brennan's dad, on Friday when we golfed. Was I think at this point, I think Brendan might be able to get out there and throw better than some of these guys. Lauren's like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm like, Lauren, have some faith in your boy. Great time Friday, by the way. Great time golfing and having the bonfire over at Brennan's. Always good to get around to golfing. Nate, I guess while we're on the topic of baseball, I think it's time to introduce a new idea that I presented to you this morning that I thought about while laying in bed last night. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, new, I guess, segment, if you would, or new weekly, we'll call it a weekly contest. So, we got to thinking over the last few weeks about what are some ways that we can get our listeners a little bit more involved. And what we're going to do is we're piloting a new segment called, for lack of a name right now, I guess, because I'm sure one of our creative minds, for lack of a better terms, or for lack of a podcast appropriate term, um, one of our creative brains will come up with a name for this.
Already got one.
But for now, we're just going to call it Prop of the Week or Props of the Week. And what it is that we're going to try to run some long term standings on it. So how it works is that we're going to come up with these props. You're going to either hit us up on Snapchat, text us, hit up our Instagram. We just created an Instagram last week for the podcast. DM us on Instagram what you think for the prop. And every week we're going to take the top 3, forbidding that people actually do it and it actually catches on. The closest will get 3 points. The second closest will get 2 points. The third closest will get 1 point. And we'll run kind of some sort of long term standings on it. I don't know if it'll be monthly. I don't know if it'll be quarterly, but we'll get some of those finer details worked out. But for simplicity's sake, my prop is going to be how many home runs will the Tigers get this week? We're going to disregard Monday's game because it's going on behind Nate right now. And by the time he gets this posted, it's going to be done. From Tuesday to Sunday, how many home runs will the Tigers get this week? Nate, what do you think for your prop?
I think you're gonna like this one. Not a whole lot going on for sports, so I had to go get creative, go outside of the world of sports. I have a reporter who's going to report back on this number, but we all know that one guy who, when they sneeze, it's never one sneeze. It's always two, three, four, five. And that guy, for a lot of us, goes by the name of Ty Schneider. My prop this week is how many sneezes will be included in Ty's longest sneezing session this week.
Okay. Well, there you have it, I guess. That's what when I presented it to Nate this morning, I told him it doesn't even have to include sports. It can be, you know,
There's nothing going
how
on.
many home runs are the Tigers going to hit? Uh, how many yards will Amon-Ra St. Brown catch this week once we get into football season? How many wings will Nate and Brant combine to eat at all you can eat wings at Applebee's? Well, there you go. I guess there's your second prop, but that people are gonna have a whale of a time guessing at that one. But all right, so your props of the week. How many home runs will the Tigers hit this week, Tuesday to Sunday? And what will Ty Schneider's longest sneeze run be over the week?
It's never just one. When that motherfucker starts, he goes on and on.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. All right, to submit your guesses, to submit your props of the week, hit us up on Instagram, Snapchat. Find our Instagram at Bucks Ball and Beyond. Shoot us a text. We'll see how this goes. Again, this is a pilot thing. We're hoping that it kind of takes off. If people like it, great. If people don't and we have to can it, oh well, at least we tried something. So, Nate, let's double back into the baseball conversation. Trade deadline coming up here in the next week. What are some of your thoughts around the Tigers and what's going on with the trade deadline?
You know, the two people that I've heard the most, the two players I've heard the most about being sold at the trade deadline is obviously Tarek Skubal and then Casey Mize. Now, on one hand, Casey Mize cannot go, I don't think, because you're probably not going to have Skubal regardless next year. You're probably going to lose Framber Valdez at within the next few years, which he hasn't looked the greatest, so I'm not too disappointed in that. Flaherty's going to be gone. So Mize is going to be your ace, I think, in 3 to 5 years. Mize, if not sooner, Mize will be your ace. So you cannot sell him. Skubal, on the other hand, it's interesting because we're looking at a much different Tiger team than what we were looking at a month ago. And I don't know if they have a legitimate chance or not, but they are making some noise. And there's a lot of noise from within, especially from Skubal saying, hey, don't trade me. I think we can make a run.
So here's my question to you. Do you think, because this is something I've debated with some people, I'm starting to think that if you're starting to lean towards buying in, would you think that buying in would mean trading away Scooble? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, what could you get for Scooble if you could get a pair of relief pitching, like at least one really good relief pitcher? We'll throw the name Mason Miller out there for namesake. Um, if you could somehow work a deal with the Padres to get Mason Miller, at this point, I think I would take Mason Miller over having Scooble because our starting pitching has been really good.
Yeah, I mean, the bullpen's definitely a problem for Detroit right now. Meanwhile, you got guys like Cater Montero. You got guys like Casey Mize who have been pitching well. You got Jackson Jobe, who's probably coming back here before the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to trade Scooble, I do think the bullpens you're going to have to get a bullpen guy out of it. That would be the top target. And yeah, if you're going to buy in, that's an interesting question, and I think it could go either way. Of if you do go all in, do you keep
Well,
Scoop or do you trade him? That's an interesting question. I could see someone's opinions both ways on that, actually.
because that's almost what I'm starting to think, that being sellers means keeping Scooble, because you're not going to get anything for him, which I think either way you end up selling Scooble. But
Yeah, you kind of have to.
I think it just depends on what you, being a buyer or a seller depends on what you're shopping for with Scooble. If you're shopping for prospects, that's when you're selling. If you're shopping for, hey, San Diego, we want Mason Miller. I mean, Milwaukee's got a good set of relievers right now, too. To me, that's the difference between buying and selling. Do you think there's anyone on the team that is like, we absolutely need? I mean, you kind of mentioned on Casey Mize, but like hitting wise, I know Glaber Torres has been tossed around in some trade talks. What's your thoughts on trading him?
Ooh, Torres, I don't know if you're going to get a lot for him. He's coming off an injury. He's been doing pretty well. Uh, he's coming off an injury. He's old. I don't know if you're going to get a whole lot of value there, but you can get some value because one of the guys that I think you should absolutely hold on to is How You Lee. Thank you. Him and McGonigal. I would say if they trade away McGonigal, which I don't think they're going to, Detroit would probably riot. They would probably personally show up at Chris Illich's office and Scott Harris too to say, "Hey, pack your bags, like get out." Because if that's the one guy I would say that you cannot trade. Two guys, if I need to include two guys, Mize and McGonigal, that's your future there. You can't give them up. Absolutely need to hold on to them too.
You mentioned How You Lee. How You Lee did get a hit tonight, and I believe that that extends his hitting streak to 13 or 14 games.
He's hit a few home runs too. He's been impressive since they called him up. I think he can definitely be your starting or your starting second baseman going forward. Especially the fact I don't know if Glaber, I think Glaber might be in a contract here, to be honest with you. So you let Glaber walk, or maybe you do trade him. Maybe that's a good pitch to trade him right there, is that he is in a contract year. Get something out of him. I know that's the big thing with Scooble is the only way that they screw up the Scooble case is if they let him walk at the end of the year without trading him, without re-signing him. That's the only way that you lose that. But How You Lee can absolutely be the starting second baseman for the Tigers for years and years to come.
And he will be next year. I guarantee you he will be the starting second baseman for the Tigers next year. He's been playing out of his mind.
Now let me ask you this, because we've had this conversation quite a few times between us two. Where would you want to see Tarek Skubal go if he gets traded? Because we all know it's not the Dodgers. We all know it's not the Yankees. So where would you, forgetting about the prospects, because you mentioned Mason Miller, and obviously if you want to see him in Detroit, you got to see Skubal go to San Diego. But forgetting about who we could get, where would you want to see Skubal end up?
Well, for one, I think if Tarek Skubal ends up being a Dodger, it's pretty much the final straw for Major League Baseball not playing ball at the beginning of next year.
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely going to be a shutout or a lockout or whatever they call it if Tarek Skubal ends up going to the Dodgers, because there's no way that they should be able, with the roster that they have, there's no way they should be able to afford having Tarek Skubal. Um, I would say top place for me would be Milwaukee. I know Milwaukee has the means to do it, has the means to pay him, and has either the prospects or the guys on their team right now to make it happen. Now, obviously, we're not going to get a guy like Mizorowski for him, but that would be a dynamic duo. Those two in Milwaukee, Mizorowski and Tarek Skubal, would be insane. Of course, I would like to see him go to the Padres simply because I think that they would probably be able to work a deal for Mason Miller at that point. But ultimately, as long as he ends up in the NL, Milwaukee would be my top pick, partially for Uncle Mark and Ryan's sake. Our Uncle Mark and our cousin Ryan are Milwaukee fans. I feel like that would give Milwaukee a good chance to win the World Series, and that would be something that would make me really, really happy. Would I think if the Tigers aren't going to win the World Series, I think I'd rather my second team would be Milwaukee for their sake.
So something just popped into my mind here because we mentioned Scott Harris just a few minutes ago, and we didn't get an opportunity to talk about it last week with Adam coming on, but kind of to flip topics here. Big news in Detroit a few weeks ago. Iserman's out as GM for the Red Wings. We've had this
Thank
conversation
God, too.
so many times over the last few years. What are your thoughts on that? And how do you feel about Iserman now that his tenure is over as GM of the Red Wings?
I think it's an interesting demotion, we'll call it. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like you're fired, but we like you. You're a great icon to Red Wings hockey. So we're going to kind of give you a ceremonious position here. I think that's kind of interesting. They claim it as, you know what, we're just having a change of leadership and we're just demoting Steve Eisman. Really, they kind of did just tell him to kick rocks and gave him the ceremonious position. And I don't know. I think it was needed. I think it'll be interesting to see who they do end up getting as their next GM. Who they if they end up promoting somebody or if they end up going out and hiring a new GM. I think it will be interesting to see, but I think it was well warranted. Let's just say that 10 years, don't do anything. Like it's
Mediocre,
time
mediocre hockey every step of the way.
for
Um,
sure. Something I was going to see if you saw as well. Did you see the comments that Dylan Larkin made the other day about the U.S. men's team versus the Red Wings?
no, I did not.
He said something along the lines of the U.S. men's team was more of a family feel than the Red Wings ever have been for him, which I have one of two ways to look at it. My first thought was, well, that's kind of harsh. But the second thing is, that's what winning will do. Like, of course, it had more of a family feel. Like, you bond, winning fixes all. Like,
Yes.
it's the best medicine for anything in sports. And you're going to bond with guys by celebrating wins more than you are grieving losses or coping with losses. Like, it's been nothing, like you mentioned, nothing but mediocre hockey in Detroit really since Larkin showed up.
Yeah.
And he's not used to winning. And then you go to the Olympics here, you play with the best of the best from the U.S., and you win a gold medal. Of course, it's going to have more of a family feel. That's something that you guys are going to remember forever. And um, really, I don't blame him for feeling the way that he does. It's
Yeah,
just he kind of said the quiet parts aloud.
you can't blame a guy for feeling that way, but the only way that I can compare it to is maybe like imagine going on a business trip for work and you're at a conference, and of course that's going to be more fun than your day job. You know, you may like your day job, but it's going to be more fun because it's different. And you go over there and I mean, from what I understand, the Hughes brothers had uh, their bedroom door open the entire time. So people were in and out and they were partying at the Olympic Village. And yeah, of course that's going to be more fun. Of course that's going to have more of a family feel than where you're playing mediocre hockey in Detroit. But do you think Iserman stepping down, do you think, or whatever you want to call it, getting demoted, stepping down, regardless of who it was from, do you think that changes if Dylan Larkin stays in Detroit? Because we already know that captain sticker or the patch is not going back on his shoulder. We already know that, but do you think that keeps him in Detroit?
I think he was going to stay in Detroit regardless. I don't think they were going to plan on dealing him around, especially at this point now that the draft's done. And I don't think that they were going to trade him away anywhere. I don't think that the new GM's going to step in and do it. But does it change his mentality on it a little bit? Maybe. I still don't know if he's going to want to be here. Still don't know if he's going to be welcome to all. I mean, to be completely honest, like I Detroit's still probably going to shun him a little bit, but I don't think it changes that. I think he's going to be wearing the wing wheel this year, whether he wants to or not. It's just a matter of if there's new leadership, maybe he actually is open to giving it a try, not as the captain, because like you mentioned, they've already stripped the captaincy from him. I don't know. Time will tell. It's really the best way that I can put that.
On that note, too, with the Red Wings, Patrick Kane back to Chicago. What do you make
That's
of
big.
that?
That's big. Hate to see him leave Detroit, but to send him back to Chicago, that's fitting because that's where he's going to end his career. Um,
The final two options for him were Buffalo and Chicago. And right when they announced that, I knew that it was either going to come down to between does he want to try to win one more championship before going out, or does he want to retire as a Blackhawk? And he decided, yeah, I'm going to retire as a Blackhawk. That's pretty cool. I don't like Chicago at all, but it is pretty cool to see. And I'll always love Showtime for what he gave us in Detroit. I never thought I would like Showtime, but I was very excited when they got him. It had been something that we had been tracking for a few months before it happened. He came back from that injury and did very well for Detroit. So Patrick Kane will always hold a special place in my heart for his time as a Red Wing.
for sure. I completely agree on that. Um, I look for Chicago to actually be decently good this year with Kane there, with the young guy that they have there. I'm blanking on his name right now. Help me out.
Connor Bedard.
Connor Bedard. Thank you. Um,
You know who their line mate is projected to be right now?
who's that?
Former Red Wing Tyler Bertuzzi.
Hmm. Yeah, see, they could actually have a decently like they could easily make the playoffs. I don't know if they'll make a run at the cup, but I think that's 100%. It's not quite a Justin Verlander deal with him coming back to Detroit because that purely was a I'm either going to retire or I'm going to go play in Detroit for 1 year and then retire. I think Patrick Kane still has a few more years in him and can actually be competitive, but um, I think now that he's the reason why he went there was to retire as a Blackhawk, which has been all right, Nate. Well, I mean, rather dry sports season, if must say. We were just talking about it a little bit ago that I opened my ESPN app, and the only thing going on right now is NASCAR, baseball, and tennis. Look, I guess look for some more non-sport topics to be talked about. We got a couple guests coming up in the next few weeks. At least we're planning on having them on. What's your thoughts on the next few weeks?
Yeah, hopefully things should probably ramp up as we're starting to get closer and closer to football season. Got to get some fantasy football drafts scheduled, so that's probably something that could be a topic for dry episodes or dry weeks is kind of what we're looking at for fantasy football and a lot of I guess the majors are done, but until then it's going to be golf, NASCAR, and baseball until then. So good chance to get some of the more beyond in, a good chance to get some guests in, and yeah, we're gonna to do our best to entertain, and I hope we've been able to entertain for this last hour.
I tell you what, with the Morgan Wallen concerts going on at the Big House this past weekend, seeing everything from that, seeing lots and lots on that. I
Yes.
feel like everybody was there and everybody posted it, something about it. Gets you ready for football season, especially when Friday night he walked out with a guy like Hayden Hutchinson. He's even in the Detroit sports mindset by twisting his ankle on his way out. Morgan Wallen, that being Hutchinson is fine, but
Hopefully.
Morgan Wallen twisting his ankle on his way out. He's already in the Detroit sports mindset, already get injured.
Yeah, and the beer can too. Somebody throwing a beer can at him on his way out on Saturday. That was rather interesting. But yeah, excited obviously for Michigan football and fantasy football, and you can expect that coming up on future episodes here.
For sure. Make sure you get your props in this week. Again,
Yep.
our props of the week are how many home runs will the Tigers hit between Tuesday and Sunday, and how many consecutive sneezes will Ty Schneider have for his longest streak this week. You can text us your answers, send it to us on Snapchat any way you can get a hold of us. You can also look us up on our Instagram, Bucks Ball and Beyond, all one word, no uppercase letters, no Oxford comma. Um, make sure you get those in and yeah, let us know what you think. Think about that new props thing. It's just a test right now. So if people like it, we'll keep doing it and keep coming up with some props of the week. But for now, Nate, thanks for jumping on again this week. Thanks for it's 9:41 right now. We've had a few technical difficulties while recording this. So thank you for the effort that you are about to put into editing this because it's going to be a whale of an edit for you. Um, thanks for everything you do. Thanks for jumping on another week, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Yep. Have a good week.
As for our listeners, thanks for tuning in another week, and we'll catch you next week on Bucks Ball and Beyond.